Hi, I'm Joanna, and I wasn't going to do a video at all because I thought I'd accomplished too little over the course of this past year until I actually looked and dug out my old questionnaire that I filled in at the start of the program and realized that I achieved all the goals that I set out to achieve and that my whole relationship with money has changed, and I have a completely different view of what's available to me and what I can create. My financial reality before we started was really messy and unstable, and I felt really hopeless. So I've been really irresponsible with money pretty much my entire life, my entire youth for sure, and that shame around that and that guilt around that just made me not want to look at money at all. And so I kind of buried my head in the sand and didn't really know, certainly had no financial plan. I didn't really know how to make one or what that was. And I didn't even really know, besides a vague notion of, what was coming in and what was going out. And scarily, this was true not just for my household expenses, but also for my business. And I had really big goals. We wanted, and we still want to move the family from Belgium to Ireland, to buy a new house there. We need money to do this. We need income after we move because we'd be leaving jobs, all these things that we wanted to create for ourselves and our family. But it just felt really impossible. And so what we wanted seemed like such a stretch that it really felt impossible. And I spent a lot of time in kind of a more hopeless energy around money. My business finances were a total mess. I was running my business a lot more like a hobby than a professional operation. I felt just generally like my hands were tied and like I had no options. And I didn't really believe that anything could ever change for me. I'd spent, my entire life as the one who was behind in terms of money, the one who never had enough, the one who was broke a lot, the one who seemed to be running out. So I was hugely resistant to even starting the program, but something in my intuition kept pushing me towards saying yes. And so I did. And I made a whole bunch of changes and did a whole bunch of things over the course of the year. Basically, I did what Anne and Maxine told us to do because I didn't know any different, and I didn't really even know to question anything because I didn't have any other experience or knowledge in this area. I started having weekly wealth dates with myself where I would just sit down for a few hours and look at what's happening and look at what I needed, all those things, all those details. I went into the details and it made a huge difference to like my feeling of control over my own life and my situation. I also made a plan for how I wanted to spend the money that was coming in. So Anne's wealth pie. And this led to a decision to save my entire salary and just live basically off my husband's salary, which is really what made a huge difference to us because that's basically how we doubled our net worth. By saving a lot. And it wasn't a huge effort. We didn't, starve or we weren't unhappy about this. This was a very, very conscious directing of money to certain areas rather than others and directing it towards this goal of a down payment for our house. So one thing that I did put in place is an index tracker amount that I now pay monthly. And that was really interesting to go through that process. And I feel so much more empowered and so much more just safer in general, knowing that this is now open to me and that I can continue doing this, that it's not too late to have started just now. I reorganized my whole business model to make sure that it's focused not just on service, but also on bringing in the money that we need in order to make our move. And basically, I stopped beating myself up for past decisions. I just took what I have now and paid attention, focused on how to make it grow, how to move forward. I worked a lot on my beliefs. I refused to take the reality I saw around me as the end result. So I moved, my belief beyond that point so that I could see that there was something else that was available to me. And and just kept my eye on the goal. And keeping my eye on the goal somehow had this other effect of me stopping worrying so much about money, which was huge, huge, huge for me. So as I said, our net worth doubled over the course of this year, which means that we almost have enough for a down payment on our house. And we're ready to buy in a few months. In my business, things have changed because I feel like I really have control over my finances. I know what's coming in. I know what's going out. And I feel like I have a financial plan that will support us once we move. And my personal finances are stable. I know what to do with money when it comes in. I know how to allocate it. And I think most importantly, I have the habits in place, those wealth creating habits in place that mean that I'm not going to fall off the wagon. This is just the way I live now. I am hugely grateful for this year as a wealth builder. So thank you very much for this year, for everything for this year. And also grateful to have had this opportunity to share my journey with you.